Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I hope you're having an amazing day. It is 70 degrees up here in Northeast Ohio at 12:19 p.m. on May 6th. I'm going to continue with Matthew 27 from the Amplified Bible. When it was morning, all the chief priests and the elders of the people held a consultation against Jesus to put him to death. And they bound him and led him away and handed him over to Pilate the governor. When Judas, his betrayer, saw that Jesus was condemned, Judas was afflicted in mind and troubled for his former folly, and with remorse, with little more than a selfish dread of the consequences. He brought back the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priest and the elders, saying, I have sinned in betraying innocent blood. They replied, What is that to us? See to that yourself. And casting the pieces of silver forward into the holy place of the sanctuary of the temple, he departed, and he went off and hanged himself. But the chief priest, picking up the pieces of silver, said, It is not legal to put these in the consecrated treasury, for it is the price of blood. So after consultation they bought with them the piece of silver, the potter's field, as a place in which to bury strangers. Therefore that piece of ground has been called the field of blood to the present day. Then were fulfilled the words spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, when he said, And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him on whom a price had been set by someone of the sons of Israel. 10. And they gave them for the potter's field, as the Lord directed me. 11. Now Jesus stood before the governor Pilate, and the governor asked him, Are you the king of the Jews? Jesus said to him, You have stated the fact. But when the charges were made against him by the chief priests and elders, he made no answers. Then Pilate said to him, Do you not hear how many and how serious are the things they are testifying against you? But he made no reply to him, not even to a single accusation, so that the governor marveled greatly. Now at the feast of the Passover, the governor was in the habit of setting free for the people any one prisoner whom they chose. 16. And at that time they had a notorious prisoner whose name was Barabbas. 17. So when they had assembled for this purpose, Pilate said to them, Whom do you want me to set free for you, Barabbas or Jesus, who is called Christ?
Excuse me, Mommy. Maximum movie's coming out today.
Yeah.
And there was two new Peter Rabbits.
18. For he knew that it was because of envy that they had handed him over to him.
Mommy, when are you going to be done doing all this recording?
When I'm done.
And when is that going to be?
When God tells me to stop, little man. 19. Also, while he was seated on the judgment bench, his wife sent him a message. Don't mess with those. Saying, Have nothing to do with that just and upright man, for I have a painful experience today in a dream because of him. But the chief priests and the elders prevailed of the people to ask for Barabbas and put Jesus to death. Again the governor said to them,
Mommy,
Which of the two do you wish to me to release for you? And they said, Barabbas. Go look in the fridge and see if it's in there. Pilate said to them, "Then what shall I do with Jesus, who is called Christ?" They all replied, "Let him be crucified." And he said, "Why? What has he done that is evil?" But they shouted all the louder, "Let him be crucified." Couldn't even answer why. They just wanted to see him crucified. So when Pilate saw that he was getting nowhere, but rather than a riot was about to break out, he took water and washed his hands in the presence of the crowd, saying, "I am not guilty of nor responsible for this righteous man's blood. See to it yourself." And all the people answered, "Let his blood be on us and on our children." 26. So he set free for them Barabbas, and he had Jesus whipped and delivered him up to be crucified. Then the governor's soldiers took Jesus into the palace, and they gathered the whole baton about him.
My father should
But
take one.
Daddy might have.
He dumped it out.
Oh, he could have ate it. And they gathered the whole battalion about him.
I think he ate it.
And they stripped off his clothes and put a scarlet robe, garment of dignity and office worn by Roman officers of rank, upon him. And weaving a crown of thorns, they put it on his head, and put a reed staff in his right hand. And kneeling before him, they made sport of him, saying, "Hail, greetings, good health to you, long life to you, King of the Jews." And they spat on him, and took the reed staff, and struck him on the head. And when they finished making sport of him, they stripped him of the robe, and put his own garments on him, and led him away to be crucified. As they were marching forth, they came upon a man of Syrian named Simon. This man they forced to carry the cross of Jesus. And when they came to a place called Golgotha, Latin Calvary, which means the place of a skull. 34. They offered him wine mingled with gall to drink, but when he tasted it, he refused to drink it. 35. And when they had crucified him, they divided and distributed his garments among them by casting lots, so that the prophet's saying was fulfilled. They parted my garments among them, and over my apparel they cast lots. 36. Then they sat down there and kept watch over him. And over his head they put the accusation against him, the cause of his death, which read, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." At the same time 2 robbers were crucified with him, one on his right hand and one on his left. And those who passed by spoke reproachfully and abusively, and jeered at him, wagging their heads. And they said, "You, who would tear down the sanctuary of the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, secure yourself from death. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross." What?
I'm going to get the donut back.
Okay.
And bring it in here.
41. In the same way, the chief priest with the scribes and the elder made sport of him. He rescued others from death. Himself he cannot rescue from death. He is the King of Israel. Let him come down from the cross now, and we will believe in and acknowledge and cleave to him. And trust in God. Let God deliver him now, and he cares for him, and will have him. For he said, "I am the Son of God." I'm going back to 41. In the same way, the chief priests with the scribes and elders made sport of him, saying, "He rescued others from death. Himself he cannot rescue from death. He is the King of Israel. Let him come down from the cross now, and we will believe in and acknowledge and cleave to him. Hypocrites. He trusts in God. Let God deliver him now if he cares for him, and will have him. For he said, I am the Son of God. And the robbers who were crucified with him also abused and reproached and made sport of him the same way. 45. Now from the 6th hour, noon, there was darkness all over the land until the 9th hour.
Mommy, this is my second.
Alright, put him right over here.
Mommy, you can have one if you want.
Well, I'd hope so. I bought them. Now from the 6th hour, noon, there was darkness all over the land until the 9th hour. 3 o'clock. Pick that up, please.
I can't. Maybe I'm just big.
And about the 9th hour, 3 o'clock. Let it go! And about the 9th hour, 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. Sabachthani. That is, my God, why have you abandoned me, leaving me helpless, forsaking and failing me in my need? 47. And some of the bystanders, when they heard it, said, This man is calling for Elijah. And one of them immediately ran and took a sponge, soaked it with vinegar, a sour wine, and put it on the reed staff, and was about to give it to him to drink. But the others said, Wait, let us see whether Elijah will come to save him from death. And Jesus cried again with a loud voice and gave up his spirit. 51. And at once the curtain in the sanctuary of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth shook, and the rocks were split. 52. The tombs were open, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep in death were raised to life. Could you imagine that? Honestly.
Mommy, you want this donut that I'm holding it?
Not yet. Could you imagine that, though?
I'm gonna have
Seriously? It's just going past a cemetery right at that point and seeing the dead raise up and start walking. And coming out of the tombs after his resurrection, they went into the holy city and it appeared to many people. When the centurion and those who were with him, keeping watch over Jesus, observed the earthquake and all that was happening, they were terribly frightened and filled with awe, and said, Truly this was God's Son. Duh. 55. There were also numerous women there.
Mommy, here's the donut for you.
Put it back, as I said, and quit interrupting me. There were 55. There were also numerous women there looking on from a distance, who were of those who had accompanied Jesus from Galilee, ministering to him. Among them were Mary of Magdala, and Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's son. When it was evening, there came a rich man from Arimathea, named Joseph, who also was a disciple of Jesus. He went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus, and Pilate ordered that it be given to him. And Joseph took the body and rolled it up in clean linen cloth used for swathing dead bodies, 60. And laid it in his own fresh, undefiled tomb, which he had hewn in the rock. And he wrote a big boulder over the door of the tomb and went away. And Mary of Magdala, and the other Mary kept sitting there opposite the tomb. The next day, that is, the day after the day of preparation for the Sabbath, the chief priests and the Pharisees assembled before Pilate, and said, Sir, we have just remembered how that vagabond impostor said, while he was still alive, after 3 days I will rise again. Therefore, give an order to have the tomb made secure and safeguarded until the third day, for fear that his disciples will come and steal him away and tell the people that he has risen from the dead, and the last deception and fraud will be worse than the first. 65. 65. Pilate said to them, You have a guard and soldiers, take them and go. Make it as secure as you can. 66. So they went off and made the tomb secure by sealing the boulder, a guard of soldiers being with them and remaining to watch. And that was the last chapter, or the last verse of Matthew 27. So, this one will go on my other channel, YouTube. Alright, guys. Peace be in you. May God bless you. I love you guys. God bless.